Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the real United States. And we're back here in this pipsqueak of a kitchen I've got for what I'm trying to build as a regular weekly cooking segment. Thought everybody might be interested in that. And we're going to try and do something a little more unusual this week. And so I hope that you will like this. We've got several of these planned where we're going to cook some things which are, I don't know if they're necessarily, American dishes. Probably not, actually. But they are unusual dishes that are from ingredients that are available here locally to where we're living in southern Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. Because we happen to live in a community that has a lot of different ethnic neighborhoods, Asian neighborhood, Hispanic neighborhoods, all these different cultures that have come together in this part of the country because of the national capital here. So we're going to bring you some of the, I guess, more unusual things that you can buy and prepare here in the United States. So that being said, I'd like to start with one that I was raised on, actually, and that Beverly also was raised on, and that is beef heart. Now, you can buy this in regular mainstream grocery stores. Some places here in the United States, certainly in the Midwest, it's a little more common. Here in the East, not so much. You actually have to go to an ethnic market, like an Asian market, they have it, or at the local Latin market, which is where I bought this, which was a little less expensive. It was actually, I guess, about the same price as what you'd find at the Asian market. But you can buy this, like I say, in major grocery stores in certain part of the country. So it's not terribly uncommon. But beef heart, very, very good. It does have some fat on it, but probably not as much fat as you might get in a steak or a roast. It's a very healthy meat. This I paid $2.98 a pound for. Yep, and this is just under 2 3/4 pounds. And it's really simple to prepare. I'm going to go ahead and roast this. I've got a cast iron pan here. You don't have to use a cast iron pan. You can use any kind of a pot you want. And you can cook this pretty much any way you want. It's meat. You add heat. So, I mean, you can fry this. You can roast it, you can braise it, you can deep fry it. It's meat, you cook it, so this is not a real tough thing. So I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to give it a little scrub, just because that's a good thing to do with any large chunk of meat. Now this was in an additional plastic bag in addition to the wrapper that came in. Now this is not a whole heart. Whole hearts, relatively hard to come by these days. When Beverly and I were kids, you could pick them up on any grocery store. And you'd get the whole intact heart. Maybe it would be split. I know when I was really young, they weren't even split. They would split them a little later to help clean them out. But now this is like a half or a third of a whole heart, because a cow's heart is a ginormous muscle. They're a big animal. So I'm going to pop this open and give it a little rinse. I'll be right back. Okay, so that was it. I popped open the plastic bag. I went ahead and I just rinsed this off. It's not particularly any more nasty than any other piece of meat. Now, heart has a very fine-grained, firm texture. It's going to have a little bit different mouthfeel than, say, a steak or a roast, because it's a very fine-grained muscle. Really, very nice. A little bit different taste than just regular beef flesh. Now, when you're cleaning one of these, this is your personal call. Me, I just put this bad boy in and roast it and be done with it. If there was any little icky parts, I'd pull them out after it was cooked. Bev's a little more fussy, so she likes to clean up some of these little pieces of tissue here. These are actually part of the heart valve. These are the little strings that help operate the heart valve. And they're tough. They're too chewy to really eat. Now, if you get a whole heart, you can go ahead. We're going to cook this with stuffing, but you can just split it open. You can clean it out. You can stuff it just like you would a bird, a turkey or a chicken or whatever. Seal it back up, sew it up, whatever, lace it, and bake it with the stuffing in it. This is a partial heart. It doesn't have that sort of a cavity, so I'm going to bake it just on a bed of stuffing. But you could trim up, say, any kind of little things that offend your sensibilities. It's not a big deal. If you get a whole heart, you're going to have a lot more of these. You're going to have, some blood vessels, the aorta, the pulmonary artery, those sorts of things. Again, they're chewy, they're unpleasant. You can just go ahead and cut those off, or you can roast it with them on. There's nothing, wrong with them. I mean, other than the fact that they're too chewy to eat. And then you can take them off either when you're going to head to prepare this to serve at the table. You can take it off at the table, depending on how sensitive your dinner guests are. But these are very tough little tendons. They have to be in order to make the heart work when it's in surface, if you will. So these are not going to be something you can chew through very easily. All right. If you want to take off some of the fat, that's certainly okay. There is always going to be a little bit of fat on the outside of the heart. I wouldn't worry a great deal about it. You can always take that off when you go ahead and have it all cooked. And that's it. It's the inside of the heart. I've removed some of those. Here's the outside. Some of this fat's going to melt off. So you can cut off some depending on how concerned you are about fat consumption. But again, most of the flavor in meats comes from the fats. So you can always cook it with that on and then trim it off and discard it when you go ahead and serve it. I'm not going to do anything fancy in the seasoning or preparation of any of this. I'm going to it's like making a roast, pretty much. I take out that piece of fat and still leave some of this on here. Okay. Now what I've got here is a 5-quart cast iron kettle, Dutch oven. And I've got a little rack. You can pick these up in the where they sell barbecue grills, or sometimes the camping section, restaurant supply place. Something that'll fit in the bottom of your pan. Get this up off the bottom. To hold my stuffing in place, I'm going to make a little cup, a little bowl out of some tin foil here. Now, if you are half of a couple, you're going to find that, doing this is, each party is going to have their own opinion about how these things should be done. So I'm probably doing this all wrong, but my wife has been nice enough to just run the camera and, let me do my thing. So we made up some stuffing. This is just stovetop stuffing, which is fine. You just whip that up, go ahead and put it in the bottom of this little bowl. If you've got the time, the talent, the patience, you want to make homemade stuffing, that's even better. You go ahead, you put it on top of the bottom of this bowl that you're going to put the heart on top of. So we did this for expedience sake, just because we didn't have the time to go ahead and make a homemade stuffing. Perhaps in a future episode of this, if this is something you're interested in, we'll go ahead and we'll make some homemade stuffing. Bev makes some really killer homemade stuffing, by the way. So that's it. Just put your stuffing in a little container there that you've created. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to season up this heart with just some salt, some pepper, some onion powder, some garlic powder. And that's it. Okay. Both sides, at least with some of this. There's some salt, a little black pepper. Again, this is to taste, folks. It's like making a roast. You can season this with whatever you want. It'd probably be really nice with tandoori, garam masala, curry, Vietnamese red curry. Whatever sorts of taste, adobo, which is a Latin spice. That's our onion powder. I'm going to put some garlic on it. I'm going to just tuck this into my little bowl here. And as this cooks, all that beef flavor is going to work into my dressing. Yes, I'm going to just put the garlic on the one side. I don't want to overdo the garlic. Garlic got more potent than the onion I just put on. But I'm not going to scrimp either. And I've got about a cup of water ish. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour down into the bottom of the pan outside of the aluminum bowl. Aluminum foil that I've put in here. That's going to create some steam. Steam is denser than air. It's going to help this thing cook faster. Denser mediums. The denser the medium you're cooking in, the faster it's going to cook. Okay? Steam is more dense than air. Water is more dense than steam. The denser your cooking medium, the faster it's going to cook. That's it, folks. We're going to set the oven to my favorite 350 degrees and bake. It's already at 350. I'm going to hit start. I'm going to put that in for about an hour. How long do you cook it? You cook it until it is done. You know, depending. So, if you want it really well done, cook it a little longer. You know, if you're squeamish about things that are, you know, a little rare, cook it for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. I always suggest putting a piece in here. This, like I say, weighs about 2 3/4 pounds. Put it in for at least an hour. Pop it out. Stick it with a fork. See if the juice comes out red or it just looks, like it ain't done. Put it back in. And cookbooks will tell you, something like this should be, in there like 2.5 hours or something. I don't want this thing cooked so hard that it squeezes all the moisture out of the cells. You're going to end up with a very dry piece of meat. You're not going to be happy. You want this meat to come out relatively moist. You don't want to cook it that hard. You want it done, but you don't want it too done. So that ought to do it, folks. And we'll come back and I'll show you how this looks when it comes out of the oven. Okay, our timer went off. An hour has passed at 350 degrees. Ready to pull out our Corazon de res, or beef heart in English. And there it is. And I've given it a little stab here already to make sure that it's done. And it appears to be nicely cooked. You could probably cook this a little longer. It doesn't brown much like a pot roast. It's going to, just cook without browning a lot if you cook it covered. Now again, if this is not as done as you might like, you can always go ahead and pop this back in for a little more time. See how nice and tender. And yeah, that appears to be nicely done through. I'm going to just cut this off in some chunks like I would any pot roast. Very nice. Still nice and lots of moisture in it. Still very juicy. It's probably hotter than I care to eat it. I don't want to burn myself. But there we go. That is our beef heart. Whoa, come back here, you. Very hot right from the oven. Fantastic. Very good. You make a great dinner. And the juices all that have come out of it have all gone down into our stuffing. So we saved all that flavor without it running out into the bottom of the pan. So you see, it's quick, it's simple, it's good for you, and I don't know, I enjoy it. It's got a very different texture. If you haven't had it before, that may take some getting used to, but I think you'll find the flavor very delicate and very nice. It's not a strong tasting organ meat like liver or kidney or any of those sorts of things. It's very delicate. And it's just a little bit different mouthfeel, a little bit different texture than the regular steak or roast that you normally have. But essentially the taste is similar. I don't want to say it's just the same, but it's similar. So I hope you've enjoyed that little episode on cooking a beef heart, Corazon de res in Spanish. And if you got questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. I love hearing from all of you. I try to get back to everybody I can. If you haven't already, we encourage you to pick subscribe and come along for the adventure. We love having everybody with us. And as always, thank you for watching.